Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Okay, some soccer news coming up in a bit. Meanwhile, all of our guests today, including Jeff Paterson, standing by, are brought to you by the Waddling Dog Pub, one of Victoria's favorite local watering holes, located 10 minutes from the ferry terminal. The Waddling Dog Pub is the best place to be to catch all NHL playoff action. With spring finally here, the Dog is excited to open their heated, dog-friendly patio. Don't miss their fully stocked liquor store and 30-room boutique hotel attached. There are countless reasons to come, sit, and stay. It sounds like you're talking to a dog there at the Waddling Dog. Canada versus Panama, June 5th at
they
BC
just
Place.
announced that, soccer.
Yeah. A men's friendly in place of Canada versus Iran, the game that was canceled. So that's we'll get a guest on regarding that in the near future, I'm sure. But June 5th, Canada versus Panama at BC Place. Tickets on sale. Well, June 1st. They go on sale
1st.
on Wednesday. Tomorrow's June.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks to the Waddling Dog, we bring in Jeff Paterson from Sakaris and Price and the Rink-Wide podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. And I was listening intently to the opening segment, and I heard the discussion about Luongo and Tim Thomas. And I always think this about goaltending. No, it doesn't apply to skaters necessarily, but I always think, how can a goalie want to stop the puck more than he already does? Like, if you're Roberto Luongo and you say what you say, and Tim Thomas takes that personally, like, if you slight a skater can find ways to up his game and run around and hit everything that moves and try to score a bunch of goals. The goalie's job is to stop the puck. Like, Tim Thomas was stopping everything already. So I don't know that it really was incentive for Tim Thomas to want to stop the puck more than he already was.
Yeah. Yesterday, I know you talked about this yesterday, tweeted about it, but the Canucks make some significant changes to their player development group, adding Mikhail Samuelsson, Mike Komisarek, Daniel and Henrik Sedin. They're going to be on the ice helping out the Canucks young players. What stuck out for you?
Yeah, well, it was that sentence in the press releases I went through it, and I thought, Daniel and Henrik are getting back on skates. Because I remember when they retired, I asked, or when they joined the club in the front office, I said, was there any on-ice capacity? And they looked at each other and they kind of laughed and said, no, we've hung up our skates. Well, apparently the skates are coming off the shelf and getting dusted off here. I'm really interested in this one, Donnie, because as a guy that has covered probably more practices than anybody in this market over the last 20 years, I can tell you that we just don't see a lot of individual coaching, particularly with young players. If young players are on an NHL practice ice, they're part of the practice. And whether it's Vasily Podkolzin or Nils Höglander or even Elias Pettersson, still a young player here, if they're involved in the practice, Bruce Boudreau is using them in line rushes and special teams drills and all those types of things. It's not like the players are divided on the practice ice by their age. The young guys, you go down to one end, and the old guys, you come work with me. It doesn't work like that. So I'm really curious to see, what does this mean in terms of Daniel and Henrik being on the ice? How are they going to work with some of these young players? And then in the press release, it also said that they're going to divide their time between Vancouver and Abbotsford. So, I'm all for it. And I think this tells you that maybe the Sedins got tired of sitting around in meetings. And if they did, I don't blame them. I'm not a meetings guy. I love going to the rink. I love going to the games. I love talking hockey with you guys and on podcasts. I'm not a meetings guy. I know that there are people who make a living, I got friends. I'm in meetings all day. Like Daniel and Henrik, they've been hockey players. This is their skill set. So I think it's great if the organization can employ them properly. But I'm just really curious, does this mean that they're going to do some pre-practice work with some of these young players? Are they going to ask them to stick around after practice? Because right now, that just doesn't happen. That there isn't that sort of structured one-on-one, or in this case, maybe it's two-on-one work with coaches and players. But the Sedins are incredible hockey players, are incredible people, great resources. And so I think after a year of being in the organization and trying to figure out what they want to do and what the Canucks think, where they think they can best help, it sounds like getting into this player development role is what everybody's agreed on. And I just want to see what it looks like once the hockey season rolls around.
So we'll see the Canucks, both in Vancouver and Abbotsford, employing the cycle on a regular basis from here on in. Is that what I'm hearing, Jeff?
I think so, and I believe Cammy Granato is now asking the scouts to find twins. That's the Canucks are going to draft by. They're going to draft by twos this year.
Yeah.
But Jeff, here's what I like. Rutherford and Alvin have been here now a few months. They've clearly identified the problems in this organization, and they've clearly realized that player development has not been great. All you got to do is go back to Utica, and we've all heard horror stories of some of the player development there, and I don't care what anybody says. When Jet Wu's taken in the second round as a defenseman and he's playing as a forward, that's not good on any front. But at least the new guys have identified the problems and they're trying to fix it, Jeff.
No, I'm with you, Rick. And look, it wasn't that long ago that people were pointing fingers and saying the Vancouver Canucks front office is too lean. Yeah. I don't think there's anybody that's saying that now, the way that they have fleshed this out. And guys, we're all old enough to remember, like, there was a time, and not that long ago, when your player development department was the coaching staff of your minor league affiliate, right? And this is really an area of growth, not just here in Vancouver, but across the National Hockey League, and really broader than that, across sport. I think people realize that the minor league affiliates, the coaching staff has a job to do to prepare those players for games and trying to win games. But if you can add resources, if you can add people that have been there at the highest levels and they're able to impart that wisdom on some of these young players and help them develop their games, then why wouldn't you? And so when you look now, all of a sudden, you've got this department that's headed up by Cammy Granato, and you've got Ryan Johnson there with her, and below them, you've got Chris Higgins, and now you've got the Sedins. And, oh, yeah, you're bringing in a Stanley Cup champion, Michael Samuelsson, and a guy in Mike Komisarek who was himself a high draft pick. I think the backgrounds and the paths that these two guys have taken, you've got Samuelsson, who's won a cup and is going to be based in Europe. You've got Komisarek, who went the college route and was a high pick and made it to the National Hockey League. One's a forward, one's a defenseman. It just kind of feels like all of this is by design, that the Canucks are able to check off a bunch of boxes with these two people and two guys that have been there. They've played the game at the highest level. And again, both have experiences. Mike Komisarek went back to school. He was an assistant coach at Michigan. Samuelsson's been a general manager over in Sweden. He worked for the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, these aren't guys that are just dipping their toe in to see if this is what they want to do. They come with a broad base of skills that I think can immediately help the Vancouver Canucks, again, develop their prospects. Now, the bigger prospect is, or the bigger problem in all of this is finding enough prospects for this group to work with, because right now you almost feel like there's more people in the player development department than there are prospects to work with.
Kamloops, Seattle, Game 7 tonight. I'm going to guess you're taking the Blazers.
I am. Although, from what I gather, and I haven't watched any of this, but I've been following along in real time online. I mean, it's been a remarkably tight series. Obviously, to get to a seventh game, Kamloops had a chance in Seattle to win it the other night. Couldn't do it in a 2-1 hockey game, and they needed overtime in Game 5. So I would imagine that they're going to go hammer and tong here, and it'll probably be another tight game. And the Edmonton Oil Kings, what a spring in the city of Edmonton. You got the Oilers in the Western Conference Final, and the Edmonton Oil Kings are just doing their thing already into the Western Hockey League Final, but the winner will take on Edmonton. So yeah, I mean, look, I've got strong ties to Kamloops, my years there. I saw you the other night on Twitter taking shots at me, Dollywall. I put out an old photo of myself.
Put his photo
in
up.
1995, having some fun. You were there at that Memorial Cup, and I said, where's your press pass? Where's your photo? Still waiting for it.
Hey, hold it. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. What was that actor's name, Donnie?
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis. You look like Rick Moranis, for crying out loud.
SCTV.
That was one of the nicer comparisons I got, quite frankly.
Bob and Doug. 2023 Memorial Cup in Kamloops. Jeff, is it true that you'll be the Grand Marshal of the Memorial Cup parade?
I haven't been asked yet, but I do love a good parade. And if they would put me like in the back of a convertible right down Victoria Street there in Kamloops, I am listening. I am open to offers. They'll do a great job. I love the fact that while this tournament has grown to a level now where a lot of times it's hosted in NHL arenas or NHL size arenas, I still love the fact, places like Kamloops are always going to be the lifeblood of junior hockey in this country. And so that the Canadian Hockey League and its sponsors are willing to take this tournament to a city of, it was 80,000 when I was there back in the mid-90s. It's grown a little bit. I think with surrounding areas, you're looking at 100, 120,000 people. But it's been such a great market with so much history, and obviously the run of 3 cups in 4 years back in the early 1990s, probably never to be repeated in junior hockey. The Kamloops team that is building for next year, and here they are knocking on the door of a Western Hockey League final appearance at the very least. So competitive, highly competitive this year, and they think that they will be legitimate Memorial Cup contenders when they get to host it next year. And really and it is on a very short list, one of the real thrills of my broadcast career was getting a chance to call a Memorial Cup victory on home ice on that sunny Sunday of the May long weekend back in 1995.
Yep. And Jeff, Kamloops is the city of tournaments.
I heard that yesterday.
Yeah,
I heard that somewhere.
It's appropriate that the Memorial Cup would go there. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.